for KT to crack.
Yeah, doesn't matter what stage of the tournament you're in, what stage of the league, I should say, KT versus KSV is always a hype matchup. And once again, we're going to see the Tristana banned away, KSV, Sion, something like the Galio to be also taken away.
You look at the pick ban of Game 1. Tristana, Sejuani, Sion was the first round from KT so far. Following that, and then Galio, Caitlyn, and Gnar on red side. So far, we're getting a complete return to Game 1 bans.
But KT actually saving the Sejuani ban that came in. They're going to ban away the Ezreal. So KSV probably reading this as a Varus ban necessity.
Yeah, the first pick Varus is the most obvious.
Yeah.
And Ruler has always had a bit of a narrow effective champion pool when it comes to AD carries. He's played Tristana, Varus, Ezreal, Kalista. The Xayah, though, is available. So Xayah Rakan on blue side, in exchange for the Varus, is what KSV decide. They seem to be wanting to go for something like the Varus and the Azir, as they're both going to be available. KT prize the Xayah Rakan. They want to play through bot lane. But Varus Braum would be a pretty difficult lane to run in for any duo.
Yeah. KSV have the opportunity to draft that right now if they would like to. They know what KT's going to do, so they can pick them whichever times that they want. Ambition had a decent game on the Sejuani. Able to get KSV to the right position early on. Not something that we say about Ambition all the time, and he's going to run it back. The Sedge once again.
They take Varus here, then they're looking to run back the Vel'Koz, you'd have to think, if Azir is taken on blue side by KT.
Certainly could be an option. Unless they save Pawn's pick until after the first round, they might just try and get that Olaf that's still, once again, not being picked up. Score hasn't been able to control the game as much as we've seen earlier, but the Varus, the most obvious of picks, and now, I mean, Rakan Olaf feels like the obvious choice for KT.
Definitely, unless Score wants to show us something different. Olaf has so much innate power against the Varus that wasn't really tapped, like you say, because KSV controlled the game. Now, you could argue they controlled the game because of KT mistakes in the early game, warping the 1v1 for the Camille versus the Gnar, and never really allowing them to move as 5, so I don't think there's any problem with going Olaf, but they're going to hold it. And actually, we see the mid laner prize, but it's going to be the Talia proactive plays for Pawn.
Yeah, and Talia does okay into the Azir as well if Crown wants to grab that, and the Camille is the choice. So we're going to get the ban on the Olaf most likely for KSV, and the Braum most likely for KT. So jungle going to be pinched on KT's side, but having that support position in trouble could be issues here for KSV, because that Braum Varus is just so strong.
I wonder what top laner we're going to see from Smeb in this game. First thought is going to be something along the lines of the Jace. Jace, Fiora, Rumble, all going to be considered, I imagine.
Yeah, the
Could be
Fiora
something
matchup
crazy.
is a really fun one.
Cannon is a possibility. Smeb is a big Fiora player, but hasn't really been playing it in recent times.
The Jace has been working out for him, though, and could be something that he could put a lot of pressure on, but does make it a very volatile lane up the top side. Fiora is going to be banned.
And the Zac is looking like the likely jungler, I would say, for KT and all of this. And
well, I mean, the Olaf is still up. They can pick it if they want it.
Doesn't have a happy time against the Camille. Azir going to be banned, so.
Okay.
Bans here, very interesting, as Smeb's previously unseen Fiora is taken, and that means that of the picks we mentioned already, Braum going to be the most obvious draft ever for the Ultra Lockdown comp.
Yep. Double Freljordian comp here from KSV as well, if you like your lore.
So we're blind picking a top laner. So we're picking a top laner into the Camille. And then the jungle pick needs to happen here.
Yep, Deft. Considering whether or not he wants to pick the Olaf or whichever top laner, as Gangplank is an option. They'd have a lot of damage with this comp and a lot of area control. Will mean that they peak a little bit later. It's going to be locked in, so Camille versus Gangplank is going to be the choice from KT.
Always risky, a bit of a self-counter pick, but it controls space. The Skarner has been available, but not being looked to. A bit out of position here, I would say, as a Skarner, but it is another champion that can interact with the Camille and potentially disengage a Hextech ultimatum. Seems like this is all about playing the side lane. So what I read in from this draft is,
wow,
okay,
neutralization.
the return of the Karma mid, an old pick for Crown. would go heavy damage on this in the past to try to have a secondary threat. But what I read for KT is it's about playing where the gangplank isn't. The Weaver's Wall comes down, Skarner threatens the Impale, and you gangplank ult behind. So it's still going to be about taking turrets early and then scaling into a teamfight team with no true frontline. Skarner and Rakan decent at the pick and also at being frontliners, but not true tanks. Whereas KSV, they can get the Camille ahead, that will be big for them. Otherwise, a very good poke as Karma and Varus can play under turrets very safely. Karma does mean not much in terms of scaling, but it does make Taliyah very accountable. It's kind of like a different variant of the LeBlanc where it's safer, but not going to be as much hypermobility and damage on it. But first time we're seeing the Karma in a long time. A definitely different take on the draft than some of the rollbacks we've seen in previous series.
Yeah, we've seen the Karma looked at a couple of times this season, but not to find too much success. Score, we're going to be looking at him to control this early game gangplank lane, not going to have priority there. And the Xayah Rakan. Xayah, of course, lanes very, very well, but you're going to be waiting until that 3-item spike before the team fights are going to be really brutal out from Deft. But Marta, having the extra control with the Lovers duo is going to be something that KSV need to respect. We said that in the bottom lane, it's going to be largely about Marta versus Ruler. Can Ruler use his Varus to great effect again, or will Marta take control? I'm sick of waiting. Let's get into game number 3 and load on to the Rift. KT making themselves known here in game number 3.
KSV fans sounding a little weary because we are getting into just after 11 past 11 local time.
But they are KSV fans, so they knew what they were in for.
They definitely did, and their team has already done a lot more than other people thought. I think a lot of people thought a quick 2-0 in this series, but it's been a lot more robust as they're looking for a catch here.
Yeah, they don't get the Winter's Bite as Marta goes in, but it's not what they
Who's
want. They're surrounded
who?
by 4 people. Double flashes come round. As, that's going to be the gentleman's agreement. And KSV win out. They get 1 flash out of Deft, and of course Battle Dance got Marta over on top of him.
Very, very aggressive. KT looking for a very cheesy level 1 and pay the penalty. Was flash used by Deft.
Yeah,
Marta,
flash used also by Core JJ though, so which is good.
Marta did not need to flash there, so okay. 80 carry for support. You definitely feel better about that if you're KSV when it comes to the flashes used.
Although Ruler used his potion, which could also mean a slight advantage for KT on the bottom side.
Intriguing level 1. A lot of it was off-site because we were focusing on the fan cheers and also the position we're in this game. But very interesting draft overall. See the value of the gangplank, which has not really been working out this week. Again, I feel like this is a structure destruction comp from KT. They're already looking for aggressive trades.
Yeah, another grand entrance comes in, Ruler down to 200 health. This is what this duo can do.
Especially if you take W level 1, it's why they postured so heavily. And when it came to aggressive posturing, because W, Deadly Plumage, does come from the Rakan as well, and makes the trades very glorious.
Well, QV going so aggressive onto Smeb. Feels like QV's really warmed up after game number 2, but of course this matchup, not going to be a great one, especially as level 2's hit for QV.
Smeb would really like level 2 himself.
Yeah. Gonna get it. Cute little parlay comes down, and immediately he loves his little barrels. He's going to start racking them up, trying to clear out these waves as best he can.
And Skarner's already taken top scuttle and given some approximate vision top side to ensure there is no quick gank. It's also ambition, so the quick gank percentage is always much lower when he's involved in the calculation.
Yep, and this wave is going to crash onto the turret here as well for Smeb. Although the mini wave is going to catch it a little bit further away. Not exactly what he wants.
Not often the team with the flash down the 80 carry can find a CS lead in the 2v2, but very aggressive trading by Deft and Marta has opened that up.
And historically, Ambition not going to be going for any sneaky little level 2 ganks or anything like that, so not going to be too frightened about it.
Let's think about Karma items, because it's AP Karma.
Yeah, and what is Crown going to do as well? Because he was, like you say, our nuclear weapon Karma builder. who in the past got Morellonomicon into the Liandry's Torment to do a bajillion damage with the Mantra.
I mean, the new Ludens would do some approximation of bajillion damage, and would be an option there. Athene's is an outside chance, but not realistically going to happen, but
Ardent
it's possible.
Sensor he could go for again. He could just go for the old build, theoretically.
It feels like a third or fourth item now, just because it is so gated around attack speed rather than early sustain. Athene's could happen. There's a lot of options.
Do you think Seraphs could be a thing that Akama would want to go to, despite the fact that you can't necessarily spam as hard as a lot of these other mages?
She has so few spell rotations that I feel like doesn't suit her, so
yeah.
I think you are going to be going Lost Chapter. Sounds like we have a very quick pause here. Just a small audio issue for Smab and get back in, but I think a Lost Chapter item will come through. My impression is Ludens. There's even an argument for GLP, but the power level on 8.4 is so low
not super great.
that it's probably not going to happen.
You could almost go for something like, Ludens into a Morellonomicon to just have massive amounts of damage. Because Morellonomicon still feels like an item that you want to be building, because Magic Pen early is something that you've always wanted, and that's what has been focused on by Crown in the past.
And I'm excited to find out which way he goes, because obviously not a lot of AP Karma in solo queue. And with the items changed, there's always the chance there's an abuse. I mean, if he bought Twin Shadows, it wouldn't be that surprising. It is an item that would fit him really well also. So
yeah,
there's a lot of options for a mid laner in Karma that doesn't really have a defined role. Are you a nuker? Are you going a very cheap support build to trade off the Athene's passive and get a lot of value? I don't really have the full answer to that. I look at the comp and say that Ruler will be the true threat. Camille will build high damage. Karma being irrelevant in the damage, not something they will want, but how much she needs to index in damage. Again, we can only look at history and say that all of our mid lane Karma players, Crown built the most damage in the past.
Well, Ambition level 4 actually heading down here. Walks over a ward. Steft and Marta will be able to get themselves out of the way, but a huge minion wave to contend with as well means that KSV can't capitalize.
How about some GP10 to start things off?
Yeah, wouldn't mind.
We'll be going towards exploiting the Bandit passive that you should not copy. So guys, if you're in solo queue right now at home and want to play some mid lane Karma, the Bandit has been disabled, hotfixed off of items like what we're seeing here, the Frost Queen's claim line. So
the only reason you'd want to do it is if you want to go sweep it early and complete yourself a quest to get some wards down.
But the quest would be pretty slow because Bandit's not there, and unless you can get a first item purchase, it's not worth it. But I agree, and that's the reason why it's good for the Karma, is that Karma controls mid lane well, and like you say, her job is mostly to make the Talia accountable. So if you follow the logic, push in the Talia, get the quest in, and be able to put down wards and take a sweeper to also control mid lane. So a lot of control, all things said.
Whole threaded volley is actually tanked by Ambition here. See, Pawn, he was moving himself back, has taken the cleanse, so he can get out of the way of the Glacial Prison as it flies in. But Crown not going to be offering a lot of threat towards the Talia, so Pawn with a pretty free game thus far. Man, this tactical sweep is doing a bunch of work to Smeb on the top side.
Score's actually quite far behind his opponent.
Okay, Crown could be in trouble. He's going to get stunned up by the Fracture as Pawn. He comes down. Ambition is waiting here, but the teleport now going to come in from KSV. Pawn does cleanse out. You can see Score. He might have to flash as well, but in goes QV. Grabs himself a first blood, and Smeb, he's coming from base. Looking for Ambition. Doesn't get the passive onto him, though. He's waiting for some barrel shots, and somehow he's able to pick it up. The minions helping as in goes QV. Score's in trouble, but does at least manage to get the W down and keeps himself alive, and now Smeb turning the tables onto QV.
Fracture there actually stunned him up. Speaking of stuns,
yeah, he's going to be able to eat some oranges. Score's going to run himself back around as well, and this is on a knife's edge. 1 for 1 so far. KSV 100 gold in the lead, but that is not much of a lead at all. Bottom lane still fighting forward for KT.
I have to watch the replay to confirm how he died. Could have been minion aggro, could have just been the passive burning him down, but died when it looks like Ambition will get away on a small amount of health, and then QV could have had a triple if that went slightly differently. You should check your alternate reality watch and see how the triple kill looks. Probably looks pretty good for KSV fans.
It's over.
Oh.
We're in a taxi at the moment.
Well,
sorry guys.
The real reality is a hype one. There's a lot happening in this game. On taken down for first blood. Very nice roam from QV.
Hey, look, actually, hang on. It was a KSV victory in the last one. 2-0. Ridiculous. We'll see whether KT is going to be able to change it dimensionally this time around.
Smeb had to pay a pretty heavy price for his run, because you'll notice he is now better part of 20 CS behind, and only slowly being able to stack up the gold. bot lane will wonder what was going on in the top side.
Yeah, KT have been having a great time down there, so happy to ignore what's been going on. Ruler goes back, can't quite complete the items that he wants. Recurve bow would have been really nice, but gets the pickaxe as well as the cloth armor going towards his Ninja Tabi. BF sword for Deft makes him feel real good. He's ahead by about a creep wave. Wants to get that Feather Storm as quickly as possible, and we'll be able to get there pretty soon.
Remember, the watch is already complete for Crown as well, so going to be cashing in the quest for some extra gold, and we're still waiting to see what his first big purchase is.
Ooh, Blade Caller almost doing a whole lot of damage to Ruler as those feathers were coming through thick and fast.
Smeb's Gangplank has a very high career win rate. Don't have it on hand, but always been a big pick for him, and in the past would play it a lot.
Career win rate, I don't know, but so far he's 60% on it for this season.
Sometimes with all the Gangplank play counting against him, but for this year I know that he had only ever lost once professionally on the GP in many different metas. This particular game, I'm very excited to see how things go. Because of the Karma mid, you have to be very accountable as Pawn. It's already into his Merc Treads to show respect. Scores speeding along.
Yeah, that's the Predator. They're just going to jump on top of Ambition, and Pawn grabs it just out of the way. And Impale is so good. Score, we were saying that he needs to be proactive in the early game. It's almost the first time that he's done anything pre-10 minutes to any great effect. This time works a treat.
Man, the power of that Predator. No way to get out for Ambition. No flash to increase the distance. Arctic Assault was down. Very nice kill picked up, and Smeb didn't even need to use the ultimate in the end, but he picks up an assist through all of it. Back away here. Big pickup for Pawn, who already had to go Merc Tread, so can start his way towards his eventual item. Maybe it's going to be the Ludens this time, because the tier would be quite a late timing from Pawn.
He may still just decide to pick it up. I mean, he's sitting on that Sapphire Crystal for a very long time. See what happens, see what he decides on. We know that Yukal, he was certainly a fan of the Seraphs, but you're right, it's going to be Lost Chapter.
Most likely. We'll wait to see what happens here. Outside chance even a GLP could come through. Was an old pickup on the Talia. So from a couple of different players, I believe Mickey was a big fan of that one.
Yep. Of course, Pawn absolutely hates any sort of power trough, so doesn't like building tier generally.
They've got a lot of different power spikes to talk about. 3 items onto the Xayah. Infinite scaling on the Gangplank, because Gangplank. Early purchases for KSV you have to like. Also early 4v4 fights seem really strong when Karma is in. Once she gets a couple of levels into her mantra, the AoE shield is enough to answer a lot of the opening burst, unless you can instant kill someone with the Impale. A lot of good options there.
Yeah, and also necessary control is a good thing to talk about as well, because what are these teams going to be fighting around? Talk about Talia all the time. Getting those wards in the river, very important for both teams, and so far KSV have put themselves in a great spot there. Pawn has been relatively held down, and speaking of being held down, Smeb getting himself back in on this top side, despite QV still tactically sweeping him away as often as possible.
Gangplank does his Gangplank things, and you notice that Crown is going to build defensively first, going to work towards picking up his QSS so he doesn't just get chain ganked by the Skarner.
Well, Ambition comes in a little bit late. Pawn's able to clear out the minion wave very nicely. Score is here. Impale once again back off cooldown as well as that Predator. Inspire going to keep Ambition alive. Okay, that seismic shove was an odd one there, Pawn, but he's not going to quite connect it onto Crown. Going for some predictions. We shall say, Crown also doing the same thing.
Prediction's not working.
Yeah,
late
not
at night
so
here, 11:23 p.m. Korean Standard Time. Players, of course, play till very late. You see streams like Faker's up till about 2:33 a.m., so
yeah.
Definitely not going to be any fatigue concerns. Unless this one gets into the 60-plus minute territory, which seems impossible now. We had a Jin Air series and confirmed that the late game seems like roughly around 48 minutes.
Yep. Getting towards midnight, though. Still got just under 40 minutes until the clock strikes 12. Hopefully no one turns into any pumpkins or anything like that. KSV moving themselves towards this mid lane, actually converging.
So you want to group and fight early and often as KSV because you have the Inspire from the Mantras. Well, the Mantra might not be important.
Yep, see you later, Crown. QV's going to jump his way in there. Can they actually get the work done as Cannon Barrage comes down? Mata to try and help out as Crown jumps himself away. Deft gets exhausted at exactly the right time. KSV saved themselves a lot of damage, but there are flashes everywhere. Crown just wants to be able to inspire the right target. Pawn turns up, throws down a wall, and KSV, they're going to back away. Man, this is on a knife's edge like you wouldn't believe. KSV, though, they keep the teleports on both of their members.
No one dies, but look at the cost of summoners. 4 flashes to 3, 7 flashes down in an instant. Not enough to actually be able to start the Drake. The Ocean this early will be fantastic. Crown can teleport back in. Delirious Weaver's wall is on cooldown. So everyone backs away, no harm, no foul. You can see the drop of the hat. We can get a whole lot of action in the game.
Yeah, and just the answers one after the other. KSV coming in at exactly the right time, then followed up by Mata getting himself in there, putting himself in front of all of the danger for his teammates. We spoke about the fact that empowered Rakan with Deft hanging out with him is going to be very important for someone like Mata, who has been making so many plays for KT. Being able to go home together.
The builds now let us know how these teams want to play out the game. We already said to KT, it's about scaling up with the gang, playing 3 items with the Xayah. Notice the build here for Crown. He's actually going for Athenes as his first completed item after the Remnant into Eye of the Watchers is complete. So what that tells you is they want to play around Rageblade Varus, so it's the biggest early power spike of any champion in this game. And from there, just take fights early before 3 items are complete with extra shields, the AoE inspired shields into the Varus power. That's when they want to fight. They want to be proactive to KSV because mid lane is going to be support, not any sort of damage.
Mata really excited about clearing out that control ward. Sorry for almost cutting you off there. He was dodging out of the way of the Winter's Bite so expertly.
Horns building a little bit of everything. Gone for the
variety bucket.
Very early haunting guys for the extended damage rather than the old magic pen that we all look at that and first think of.
Yeah, Leandro is still a fantastic item. Still wondering what the last chapter is going to be turned into. Question marks for Pawn, because the Seraph's Embrace was, of course, thought of as the option to run into. Still might get it, I guess, but it's going to be stacking up very, very late.
It's happening everywhere. Trinity Force complete onto the Gangplank. Cannon Barrage is on cooldown till... might even still be, but I believe it's just available. Probably not going to be a real contest here from KT. They have no teleport on their top laner, and KSV has an instant impact ultimate. Smart to get this one away.
Yeah, also outside of vision was KSV as well, so they didn't really know where the Camille was lying in wait. Didn't want to take the risk. Well played from KSV, but it's only an Ocean. Next one's going to be that Mountain Drake. We haven't seen a lot of fire recently, apart from in the gameplay from both of these teams.
Oh, the vision actually just extends a hair. Doesn't seem like they were seen.
Did he get in there? Yes. Score's going to jump round. Impale not going to come down as Mata has to battle dance, trying to get himself out. Oh my goodness, gets the second one. Tactical sweep comes in, but no, the Impale. KSV's under the turret and he's dead. Score grabs the kill. It's beautifully done, and Pawn even turns up at the most beautiful time.
Look like the Impale cancelled the Hextech ultimatum. I never saw the AoE go down. So he dies through all of it. We need a replay to confirm exactly how that went, because the Hextech ultimatum is on cooldown. They pick up the only kill of the exchange, rush back into mid lane. Almost looked like the instant turnaround on Mata, but one kill goes the way of KT.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it was a bait or whether it's Mata just biting off a little bit more than he could chew, and KT having fantastic reflexes.
And this was with the extra investment, remember. KSV went down. Smeb couldn't join. Gonna get a lot of turret damage. See if the Trinity Force is enough to pick up the turret. He's in a 1,700 gold lead, just Gangplank things.
Oh, that's so silly. And KT are actually the ones that are going to rotate up first as well. Almost guaranteeing they'll be able to at least kill an entire minion wave on this turret and get Smeb a really good back and an opportunity to really fight KSV now.
KSV needed to make those sort of plays stick. They are going for ultra utility early focused on Crown, who has not shopped, but we'll have the Athenes on the next back.
Ahead by like 1 creep or something like that, so KT not too worried about how things are going in the mid lane. It's all about who can utilize their utility better. Weaver's Wall going to be so important from Pawn. Getting the seismic shoves in the right position and the damage down is going to be great, but Crown is going to be that secondary support on top of Core JJ. They want to keep Ruler alive. They want to get to a part of the game where he can carry almost on his own. KSV also there for that split push option. Still multiple win conditions here for KSV. They're not over-indexing, but the styles from both of these teams are so different. Def still has carry potential, but Pawn, he's going to be a threat. Smeb, he's going to be a threat. And they've got initiation and engage. I just love it. It's just so classic KSV versus classic KT. KT wanting to fight, KSV Wanting to be that juggernaut, just play it out until the late game, get behind Ruler.
But you have to feel like that fight is much more front-loaded than a lot of their comps because they will run out of damage compared to KT in the late game. So this feels a lot more mid-game centric. This seems to be an update on the standard KSV playstyle because now is the point when they're feeling really strong. They have the Athenes completed onto the Karma. The damage is not quite there in terms of AoE for the Gangplank, certainly. Still waiting to see where Talia goes with the build. The Leandri's complete very early. Useful for poke. It's bot lane.
Yeah, in goes Marta. Cannon Barrage is there to help out as well. Another exhaust, but Featherstorm avoids the knock-up, and Ruler, he's going to go down. Deft grabs the kill. Core JJ could just follow. They're actually fighting this despite the teleport, which is cancelled. And now Pawn, he wants to grab the kill into Core JJ. Flashes, he gets it all too easy. Score was even there with a Predator. They'll lock down this turret. That's going to be first blood on the turret score. And man, KT are going to explode this game.
It's a massive problem for KSV because KT is starting the fights with the scaling comp, and the team with the early game options is behind the play. Teleport has to be cancelled by Karma. No way to salvage that one. Even on the top side, they're being chased down everywhere.
Yeah, and I feel like you're right. I mean, this is like a KSV style comp, but peaks a little bit earlier. You still play around Ruler. He's your damage source, but maybe it just flat out doesn't work because it doesn't look like it's working right now.
You just think of the comp and you say, if Karma's there first, this will happen. If they're on the front foot, this will happen. That's not the KSV we've seen for a long time. That does count against them, as that makes it pretty obvious. Scores on the brush.
I wonder whether he saw that. The Score's like, oh, miss my time. He's going to move out of the lane. QV taking a lot of damage from the barrels. QV does destroy that one as well, but there's a cannon minion here. And it's only a matter of time before this turret goes down. Game's difficult to win if you're a ranged champion, theoretically, with your parlay, Smeb.
Or when you're in a 30 CS advantage as a Gangplank against a Camille. Camille also will feel the same sentiment.
I'd love to cycle over to the gold and see the 2,000 gold lead of Kleptomancy for Smeb on the top side of the map.
2,000? It's going to be more than that.
He did get another assist, didn't he? This Gangplank is the most big. After having an absolutely terrible time in the first few minutes of the game,
it does end up being a tier eventually, so it's going to be very slow stacking coming through, but still wants a defensive option. We'll have the Leandri's health, and also going to have eventually the Seraph's shield, but we're talking much later in the game. 32 minutes, I guess. You do stack up pretty fast with the Archangels because it's 8 mana per stack.
Get it a little bit quicker. Yeah, either watches. We're going to check that one out for a moment.
I mean, the reason why they're showing it is that if you think about Karma, it's not Malzahar when it comes to a targeted spell to proc the gold effect. You actually get the minions interrupting your abilities to proc spells to actually generate gold. So he's only generated 400 gold at 20 minutes after rushing the item.
Ugh, that's not so good. He has an Ardent Sensor, though. So this is about the spike that you're looking for. Ward goes down, immediately gets cleared. And Smeb's going to deal with the very small amount of health that turret was able to have. They laid out a turret, the next option. I
actually think they lose 5v5s right now, which is awkward to say. The very early Ardent Sensor doesn't provide much for the one item Varus. He needs the Wit's End at least to start doing damage. So for one, much earlier than expected, KT are going to have control over this Mountain Drake.
Well, Score actually looking for the Impale. They try and pick something out. Chains of Corruption, a fantastic Score. He just explodes. Deft has to Featherstorm to escape this damage, as that's Ambition piling on top. Hextech Ultimatum, it's there as well as Marta. He's given up. He's heading for the hills, and there is a fight that they can win because KSV, they just won it.
Yeah, emphatically they say that I'm wrong because they just rush down in, and one person dies instantly. Just no health at all, and they're going to turn it straight into a Baron attempt.
Yeah, and we mentioned the fact that this is where their power is. KSV, it's only just spawned. They should be able to get on top of it. And we weren't expecting this level of proactive play from this team.
Such a big start. Smeb's here with the barrels. We've seen that before.
Yep, not a Cannon Barrage available, though, as it's down to about 3,000 health. And KT, there's no smite. This will go over to KSV. They'll get harassed a little bit, but otherwise everything's going to be fine. Ambition locks it in. KSV, they're still down 3,000 gold. But this is a huge deal now. The turrets will start to fall.
Stabilizing Baron for the side of KSV. Deletion damage coming through. Baited by the fact that they had the right catch with the Impale. But then the Inspire Shields came in. The turnaround started, and there was no answer for the side of KT Rolster. So we'll go back Thought he had his pick. It did not work out at all. And now those side lanes that were being so well manicured by Smeb are going to be attacked by the Baron up Trinity Force on Cuban.
Well, thankfully, Baron buff doesn't mean a lot to the old Gangplank. You can get the physical damage in there.
Still slower. Still going to have much less control for certain.
It's not going to be as upset, I guess. Ghostblade is done. So QV might need to think twice before challenging the Pirate to a duel.
Mountain Drake was never taken because they turned the kills into the Baron. Should be a freebie for the side of KSV.
Mini wave trying to be dealt with here by Def, but alone is going to be tough. Means that Marta has to give up control in his own jungle. Mountain Drake now the option. So finally able to clear out wards as Score realizing the trouble of being Skarner in a lot of these situations where sometimes you just explode.
Exactly what happened on our screens. Do notice that Braum is working towards the first banner of command on the side of KSV, but going to be delayed. Still has to finish the Raptor Cloak into the completion.
Yeah, KSV now setting themselves up for their first turret. The mid lane should be broken open. The first team to actually grab a mid lane outer turret this game.
Slow and steady a little bit, though, because of the physical damage wave clear you were alluding to. But that means that Camille will have position on top side. So seems like standing gold in at least 2 lanes going to go the way of KSV.
Cannon Barrage is there. Only a minute and a half left on this Baron buff. As QV tanking up this turret and KSV do wrest control. Pawn.
They're looking for the catch.
Yeah, they want to try and grab him, but Smeb, unfortunately, not going to be able to get over there as the seismic shove. That's going to be what does it. Smeb is going to land the parlay as Score. He's going to turn up. Cannon Barrage completely whiffing, and QV, he's taken them on a merry jaunt. Mata, he can't actually get in as Score. Can't do anything. See you later, QV. Damn, these last 2 games. This top lane has been so good for KSV.
He's so elusive on the Camille, and Score actually flashed to interrupt the hook shot and just ends up blowing his flash, which he needs to threaten the members of KSV. Big waste there. Egg on his face for Score. Happiness and ecstasy for QV. They back away. They do keep a second turret up. So if you think about it, you take a step back. It is only Baron buff gold and the mid lane outer turret, and inner turret, I should say, that go down. So they take both turrets in the mid lane. They don't get the other side lanes, but it does still feel like standing gold for KSV to take.
Yeah. Oh, man. This is once again so incredibly tight.
Banner of command there, but not going to be used on a siege minion this time. That's for the next Baron buff.
Yep. Oh, actually, yeah, it is. It's going to be used on the super attack speed melee minion.
Yeah, ultra
Look at
soon.
him go. Bruce Banner. Smack on them creeps. Look at him go.
Damn, his attack speed's so fast.
The animations are so clean as well. I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either. It's 2.4 attack speed.
Oh, that's hectic. He's hacking him down.
Was that Ardent Sensor?
I hope so.
I think that was Ardent Sensor.
Ardent Sensor procking on a
Yay!
melee minion. Whoa, that was a lot of damage.
Whoa, I'm ready to see if the Bannon gets the Ardent Sensor as well. That's just broken.
That is called straight up abuse. I feel like KSV, if that is something that actually works, that would be busted.
Are we going to call the pause?
Yeah, I will. Joel, hop on Discord. We might need to get a pause, please. No, never mind. It's okay. It's okay. Well, we're very close to Rabadon's for Crown. It's going to mean so much more for the rest of KSV. Get double duty with extra AP when you've got so much utility. In goes KT. They're looking for more Cannon Barrage on 4 members, but Ruler just gets rid of the Rakan, and we've got no auto attacks out of Deft whatsoever in Ambition. He wants to follow it through. They pick up so much CC. It's a triple kill for Ruler, and he's just having a field day on his Varus today.
And Crown's just baiting again and again. They don't have the kills because Exhaust came down onto Deft and wasn't able in a line to take them down. KT trying to cheat and make things happen early before all their items are complete. And KSV continue to trade up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether they're Baron or not. Looks like this inner turret, it will go down as well. And Ruler, he's hit the damage spikes he's looking for. He's got a QSS. He's skipping Wit's End this time. Straight for the Blade of the Ruin King. Disrespecting Pawn's damage, but certainly respecting that of what Smeb and Deft can do. So it doesn't need to have magic resist shred necessarily.
You watch the replay and they think they have the catch, but notice how this goes. The fight starts, the engage starts, and while it seems like they're going to train them down, Deft only gets a Feather Storm, and then watch how early he's exhausted by Core JJ, who walks in the front. He may not have the Unbreakable up, But basically, Death's fight is trivialized. He doesn't have the Infinity Edge. He doesn't have the Zeke's Convergence as a damage amp. He's not able to rein in damage. KSV fight front to back with all their shields and take down KT.
Yeah, Deft was so close to picking up the Infinity Edge. We've complimented KT so many times this season for playing around item timings and spikes in power. That was straight up a time in the game where they just weren't strong. You mentioned it earlier on. KT, they can't cheat. We've just got to pick up what they can actually get.
They were further behind early in the game than they expected to, further ahead, sorry, than they expected to be. And then ended up taking 2 bad fights when KSV was strongest. So KSV played to their own win conditions rather than looking at the state of the game, and it worked out. Now we're seeing them consolidate their power, roll up, and when they're going down a long lane and poking, it's either all in engage or giving up objectives with the power that KSV have put together, and a second Baron would probably tip this game over the edge towards KSV.
Yeah, KSV already have themselves a gold lead. Spoke about the fact that, you know, Karma's going to fall off. It's going to be all about Ruler. But when it's all about Ruler, I feel like it's still going okay for KSV. QV has been splitting so far this whole game. Ravenous Hydra is done, as well as the Trinity Force. Heading to Steric's Gauge next.
Marta's had multiple shops and not been able to pick up his first item, whether it's going to be the Banner of Command or...
Wow.
Yeah, that's just the burst we see at this point. But Banner of Command or... the Zeke's Convergence, both options here. Zeke's Convergence, I imagine, just so that Def can do damage. But the right Unbreakable comes from Core JJ, and maybe it doesn't matter. KSV went for the answers rather than the questions with the Karma. And so far, they've had the answers when they've needed them. Seem prepped for the test, and Horn has to back away.
Yep, throws a Weaver's Wall towards the Baron Pit just to try and scope that one out. Def would have taken almost his whole health bar from that one as QV looking for the flanking play. Hookshot flies forward as Marta not going to get hit by the ultimate, but Smeb, he's going to get caught out. Cannon Barrage flies in, so at least he's doing some damage, but now KT, they don't want to find it. Ruler gets caught, but he also gets a double kill. And KSV, they just win every fight.
That's just front to back. Hookshot death, hookshot death. They turn on to Baron as well. Not going to really be a way to contest this. Not going to see a heroic smite steal from Score. Second Baron in the game goes the way of KSV.
Yep, 30 minutes in. They've got 2 dragons, one of them being a mountain, so helping them out with this one. They got coordinated backs relatively as ambition is going to look to get some more work done. The KT, it feels like they're just not finding the fights that their composition is able to put forward.
And they couldn't find the Camille. Camille comes out of the darkness to get the first pick, and then from there, Horn had walked up to do damage. Free food for the side of KSV. So hard to kill the first person because of the shields. Karma pick is certainly working a trick, and we mentioned the Bannon. Bannon is unleashed on the map because second Baron, and soon to be a mountain, achieved for KSV.
Yeah, lots of vision on the top side. You saw that they were prepared for the Baron, but it doesn't really matter right now. They are just so incredibly strong. Just felt like the Ardent Sensor was the window for them to go. And it just shows, like, I feel like a whole lot of other teams wouldn't be able to make a comp like this look like this. It's just the fact that when KSV play around Ruler and his strength, this turns into a different beast. He's going to get seismically shoved, though, so that ain't great. Still, just turns it around. Has so much protection, so much control. He's got his bodyguard in Braum and his girlfriend in Karma. Everything's so good. It's like the emotional support, physical support. It's all there. KT now desperately trying to hold on. That Banner of Command minion is not going to be troubled by the likes of the threaded volley.
Seismic Shove just trying to move it closer so they can auto-attack it safely.
Yeah. Tower can't get to it, though, and it's
it
going
also
to be Score trying to hold it.
So that's pretty happy for the side of KT. They're not losing the maximum yet, but now it gets back onto its regular mission.
Yep, Smeb trying to defend against 2 here as, look at that, QV just tearing through this turret. Seismic Shove doesn't find him at all. KT now have to deal with a broken base. Inhibitor should be falling down. They've got a huge creep wave up topside. And that could be good. QV was forced to go back to grab it. They don't want to give any standing gold to KT. What are you doing, Creeps?
They're distracted, Atlas.
Yeah, they're confused. They're like, why is KT not finding this? They can't win the game. What is going on? They're going to let the game come. Oh, God.
And KSV have drafted a pretty similar comp to what KT drafted in Game 1. It feels like largely this comp, the Karma's kind of a replacement for Rumble in the mid lane. But this is something I've been looking for from Crown for a long time. It's why I want to see him play the Galio. We know Ruler is ready to go. You watch him in solo queue, he's a monster. Yeah. He just has had a lot of selfish mid lane picks, like the Zoe in meta and other choices. The Galio certainly didn't work, so they threw out that idea. They went back to one that did work in the past for Crown in the Karma. And the Karma, despite it being a slow starter, from the moment they exploded the Skarner and took Baron, has been really clean. It does empower Ruler. And while there is the late game fall off, just like with the Rumble, maybe the game ends early enough that the late game is only an inverted commas thing rather than a real thing.
And I just feel like as soon as Ruler has all of the information that he needs, he's able to do such ridiculous things on this Varus pick. Understanding the variables, getting the work done, and now KSV are pushing forward, and they know exactly what's going on. Cannon Barrage up towards the top side. Smeb will at least survive. The tower does a whole bunch of work. Pawn should be able to grab this, but the Hextech ultimatum does come down. Oh no! He's not going to be able to do it! That's the solo. All too easy from KSV. Build him up, knock him down. KSV are going to take down the inhibitor as well. The bottom inhibitor also went down. KSV are so set up to win this game. It's 35 minutes in approximately. And KSV should be able to break the base in every position.
Never bet against a Camille when it comes to plays like that. No threat of volley should come out after the first one because it was on worked ground. Juve is a monster at this point in the game, and KSV looking to upset KT. They should be able to do it in the next few moments.
Yep, score chunked out, unable to get there to threaten any sort of impale. He's got a flash. They could go for a desperation play. Deft still does do a lot of damage. But KSV, you just don't want to walk at this comp. You get a Mantra Inspire. How do you even get through the dang shield?
You don't. That's where we're at the game. They haven't hit the items they needed. They got too excited early, and now the game looks to end.
Yeah, KSV have a whole lot of tools for themselves, though. It looks like they're taking no damage. Cube having a field day underneath these Nexus turrets. No cares in the world. Ambition feeding minions through the top side of the map. KSV just look in so much control. These are the world champions we've been looking for this whole season.
And it's great to see them show up. It's so unlikely for them to go 2-0 on patch 8.4. But something about KT seems to give KSV a big buff. They always seem to have, QV especially, step up when they face Smeb, or when they face, in this case, KT Rolster. Crown has had a much better series than in recent times as well, bringing back old favorites that have worked for them in the past. And they're building around Ruler, one person who you feel can take a heavy burden and reliably come out with an output if set up to succeed. Being set up to succeed and a Karma mid lane are synonymous. So KSV, a couple more picks, not even a teamfight victory, and the game is over.
Yeah. Just absolutely incredible. Riding the momentum of game number 2, which they almost let KT back in. This just feels like, for some reason, emotionally, KSV understand how to take down KT. They never worry that anything's over.
When it matters. And it does matter for KSV here. They want to guarantee playoffs. KT Rolster with a victory, a guaranteed playoffs. It's not looking like.
Well, Featherstorm is going to be used to dodge out of the way of the ultimate from Ambition, but he's still moving forward. Ruler, gigantic shields, as you can see. More banners, more super creeps, and more likelihood that KSV are going to win the fight underneath Nexus turrets. Who cares? Ruler grabs kill number 1. Can he grab number 2 as Cube? Just Hextech ultimatum comes in. It's the tower falling down. It's a Braum grabbing the kill, but look at that. The Nexus just melts. And KSV upset KT in this final game of the series.
Such a big win for the side of KSV. They roar back into contention. People counted them out. Where were the world champions? I haven't seen the last couple of weeks, Atlas, but they're back emphatically when it matters. They are now deep into the top 5, and that allows them some relative safety. They will not be a team to miss playoffs. One of these teams will have to. Rox Tigers have been struggling. SK Telecom have been struggling. There can only be 5. KT Rolster still likely to be there, still only 1 match victory away from guaranteeing the spot, but it will not happen today, and they will continue to need to fight next week to guarantee their spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I remember you talking to me earlier this morning, Papa. You were saying that you could feel it in the water. There was a churning going on. Everything looks like a KT victory today, and that's probably why KSV are going to win. And look, I didn't feel it. I felt like KT, they had it in the bag. They had a patch that was going to work out for them, but KSV, they have the secret stuff. They drank it after game number 1. Coach has said something real beautiful to this team. They turned on their world championship form, and they are pretty much locked towards that top 4 position now. They've pulled that out to about a 2-game margin, 2-match margin.
And they'll be eyeing higher because they want to make it to the best of 5s. They want to avoid being in the best of 3 wildcard match. They would desperately love to pip Afrika to 3rd spot and condemn Afrika into another wildcard match they have played in consistently for the better part of 2 years. So that is KSV's goal. Nothing is done. Remember, guys, we have the gauntlet system for 4th place, 5th in a best of 3, and then the winner plays on in a best of 5 until you take on the 1st place team in the grand final. So placement and the final 2 weeks of games, the next 4 best of 3s for both of these teams are titanic in how high you can rise up in the spring season and set yourself up for the summer season, because there's nothing KT wants to avoid more than another damn regional qualifier final against KSV to go to Worlds.
Yeah, if KSV are going to run the gauntlet, KT are going to watch every match shivering in their boots. If they get to that stage, you just don't know whether KT will be able to get it. You feel like potentially against Kingzone with these two sort of powder kegs ready to go off against one another. That's going to be on Thursday next week, guys. We're going to get a taste for what could be our number 1 and 2 in that possible final position here in spring. But if KSV come up through KT, you just don't know what's going to happen.
And then KT beats Kingzone, and then we all sit back and say the greater than chains that plagued us in the first 5 weeks of the season may come back again, Atlas. It's so hard to tell on the day because at some point you forget that it doesn't matter if it's 2nd versus 6th or 2nd versus 4th. It's the world champions against one of the most mechanically talented teams in the world in KT Rolster. And on this day, KSV had the right stuff, the secret stuff. They pulled the karma back and made it work. They understood that playing around Ruler was the way forward. And even though KT were ahead early, it counted for nothing as KSV, oh boy did he style. You thought he was going to die. Admit it. You got excited
oh, yeah, I did.
about the kill onto the Talia. I looked at it and said, I've seen the outplay too many times.
Yeah, didn't find the seismic shove there at all, did Pawn. So KSV just does it. Things started off well for KT, but just wasn't the case in the end.
Very interesting game where it feels like expectations were turned on their head a couple of times. This ended up being a 1-for-1 overall, but this is where Score walked up, and watch how he's just damn obliterated in the front line as Ruler finally gets to stack up his Rage Blade. This was the time, they've got 2 picks, they turn it into a Baron, and Cube's navigation of fights is Camille. We've placed a couple of times. He had some beautiful moments in this particular series. Watching here, always able to be graceful. He makes the great escape. Watch at the end as Score, who was the most frustrated here on the Skarner, tries to interrupt the hook shot. Optimistic, doesn't work, and now he's down a summoner. Then they tried to fight front to back, and sadly, you're against a Karma. Def isn't able to actually put the feathers through, so the Blade Caller means nothing. And then we got the majestic outplay at the end to just justify the MVP performance from KSV.
Yeah, and it was interesting in that first fight, I didn't notice that Ruler was locked out of the fight for the entirety of it. There was enough damage coming out of the Karma in the early game to make things work, and this, just no damage available from KT because they were fighting before the item timings, fighting before the opportunities, and despite cannon barrages in the right positions for a lot of it, this is what you were talking about, made me look a little bit silly, but I'm happy to be made look silly when KSV can get perfect flashes, get himself into positions to destroy his opponents. And KSV was one that has been feeling like a little bit of a slump for KSV, but this time not the case. So let's have a chat to him as we go to our MVP interview and throw it over to Joel for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys, for the last interview of the day. We are here with KSV. I haven't said that name in a while in an interview format because we are seeing them pick up a very important victory against KT Rolster. We're going to see them do that in a 2-to-1 fashion. Have an interview with the MVP and also with the coach. You're the solo MVP, and it really see a smile on your face. We haven't seen that in a very long time. I mean, it really just happened, right? I mean, it's something that just everything clicked and everything worked right for us. Did you ever feel like today was going to be your day for MVPs? You know, the first one I agree, but the second MVP definitely wasn't, something wasn't deserved of me. And we actually get to see trades here now. My name is Trace, and I am the KSV coach.
Welcome back, Trace, to the stage. Been a long time.
What kind of a coach is he to you? I think it's really kind of a close friendship that that really goes evenly on both sides. Because he used to be a top laner himself. Yeah, I remember those days definitely. I feel like his memories from 2015 from Juve definitely has been just deleted from his memory system. So I'm sure he has seen me play alongside him, but we try to just bother each other, trying to just joke around. I think he bothers me a lot more than I do for him. Coach, how did you view the game overall today? It really is very uncomfortable watching the KSV's games, and it really gets me nervous every time the match begins. And it was a little bit uncomfortable, but I think we overcame a lot of these different mistakes that we've used to make, and we had a lot better performance. We actually saw Rumble on the other side of the top lane. And how'd you feel about that pick? I had no idea that was going to come through, and we knew that Rumble, although it's not really a staple now, it was back in the day, so I knew kind of how to counter it. So it really must have been a surprising pick for you guys, but and you actually hovered over the Kled just a little bit before you went over to kind of the more realistic picks to pick up in the top lane. I mean, Kled is really bipolar in the fact that when it has its positive, it's very, very positive, but the negatives just make it to a thing where it's not very safe to have it as a viable pick. And we know that, Trace can come up with these creative picks back in his own days when he made all these creative picks for top lane. I mean, it's important that, I can play those picks because it's just me, but when different players have different preferences on things, and I just can't force other top laners to play exactly the same way as I do. And of course, it is different that, my champion pool and his champion pool is very, very different, and we're both positive in that different aspects. And going on to game 2, what were the things that you guys wanted to fix losing out in game 1? And we actually thought that game 1 was towards our side for most of the game, and KT was kind of rushed into these macro situations, and we felt like we could have taken advantage of that a little bit more. But the reason why I try to not express that as much to the players is that I don't want them to be shaken up, and let's try to make them feel positive as much as they can before approaching to the next match. And we do expect that tanks are still viable in this meta, and we actually expected that from both of the top laners, but it really went offensive for both of you guys today. I think it's right now, the composition that both of our team were forming, it really didn't allow for a tank to fit in kind of smoothly into what each of our team was forming. And even with picking up your champion, you still picked up a triple kill. And do you remember that scene in particular? Yes, I do. So what did you kind of call between that play? It was we saw that the opposition went in too deep into coming in so greedy, and we knew that gave us an angle to really strike forth and strike back. Did you feel like the game was over by then? No, of course it wasn't just every lane, but just according to that lane, it was a big win for us. So yes, I did expect a lot from us. And the game, actually the fight went for a lot longer than it should have. And that Ash came through at the end, tried to catch out the Nara in the middle. I've never had really advantageous situations in past couple of weeks, so I just had to stay focused on until the fight was over that my job wasn't done. And many people have a lot of criticism on Crown when it came to his performances in recent games, and a lot of these new picks came forth for him today, especially with the Karma. I see Crown playing even during practice, and he's good, but And he's really good at these very unique picks that other mid laners seem to struggle with, and I think that kind of becomes his kind of strength, where he can push forward with these unique champs that other people don't expect. And what was the reason that Karma came forth for today? Yeah, it was a very much a supportive pick, where, you know, if we had a Karma with a strong shield, it gave us a lot of power for the rest of the allies here. And that was a kind of a longevity thing that we kind of looked for when it came to picking out Karma. And with Camille, and really saw a true aspect of what, you know, KSV can do with the Camille, and coming up with these solo kills and very good plays. Do you have any highlight that you remember in particular? I think it was when I was trying to kind of run away when I was in top lane, and it seems very cool and how I had to pull that off. That was interesting that I could have died quite easily, but it felt really nice that I got away from this. So, you know, right from this point, I knew that KSV was going to get out alive. And of course, Trace, you do have a really good eye for the game, and you've had your experiences as a top laner, but anything positives of KSV? I think he's good at eating. That's for one thing. He's very healthy. And I think that's a great part of him being a top laner. You know, we always tell our kids to, you know, grow up and be healthy. I think kind of the similar traits. But what about you, Trace? As a former top laner and a coach, what is the positive of you? I think his mentality is great. He never gets tilted. Yeah, I think he's going to be a stronghold when it comes to us not getting tilted. Well, I mean, he has a great eye for the game, and we all know that, but he's good at giving feedbacks. Probably the most obvious answer that can come from a player towards a coach, but do pick up a very important win for you guys, and you guys put yourself in a very good position for the rest of the season, and you have a lot of tough games that are up ahead. Anything you'd like to say for the remaining games? I knew that we were very disappointing in the way we performed, and I think this win should kind of fire us up to get better games in the future, so we just continue to ask for your support. Coach, anything you'd like to say? As KSV said, and I think we've been practicing a lot more recently because we wanted to get better, so we just continue to ask to kind of watch out for us and see what we can do. And there we go, we see the KSV feeling very good about their victory. And as we do wrap up today's interview, we're going to send it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel, and what a marathon of a night. I get a little bit of flack here at the OGN studio because I seem to be the one that always brings the long games. Well, damn, it was correct this evening.
And you get the fandom from the fans because they want to see more League of Legends. In the second series especially was a sick one. Cool to hear from Trace, of course, former pro, former top laner for Jin Green Wings, known as a mad scientist, top lane Graves, and top lane Malzahar. Two of his big picks, a big Rengar player as well. But what does this mean for the standings? Sad thing is, it means that SK Telecom's time to get into the top 5 gets harder. Atlas, because now KSV is entrenched. There are 8 match wins. KT far enough away from SKT to not really be related themselves, but they also are very unlikely to hit the first spot. So while Kingzone aren't first, if they beat KT next week, when we're getting to mathematical certainty, they will be the first place team. Has some fun matches tomorrow, guys, as well. One more day left in week 7, and then two best of 3s each to be played week 8, week 9, only 4 matches to go. So starting tomorrow, last day technically of week 7. Should be 2 stomps, to be honest. Freaka Freaks against Kongdu Monster and Kingzone versus BBQ. But, and I'll say this but, BBQ did beat Kingzone in the first round robin. So some hell to pay. Peanut starts getting going on Olaf. That could be scary. The big day has to be Thursday. Jinne versus Afrika and Kingzone Dragon X versus KT Rolster.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely huge. BBQ Olivers versus SKT. unfortunately for SKT fans, is actually a very important one as well, because SKT, they need to win everything.
Yep.
From now on, just straight up, every single game is going to be important. MVP get a great one to try and turn their momentum around, because Kongdu Monster haven't looked so good. MVP, however, have looked better. I mean, it was a clunky 3-game series against Jin Air. If they clean it up, they should be able to turn it around.
Clean up your schedule, make it free for Thursday.
This is going to be one hell of a
match
day.
Outside chance Jin Air are still playing for playoffs by this point into what could be our grand final. KT could choke before then, but we could definitely have an LCK final of Kingzone Dragon X versus KT. For KT Rolster, interested to see where their mind is at come that game, because they were second best today.
Yeah, having a Sunday and a Tuesday where Kingzone are going to be playing as well before that means that anything could happen. They could just be steamrolling through their opposition, have massive momentum, and then KT have to come in with a more difficult game under their belts. As MVP versus a Freak of Freaks, and BBQ Olivers versus KT Rolster on the Saturday. And if it's a KT Rolster that's come off a loss against Kingzone, could be a time for BBQ to strike, grab themselves some wins. So a lot of things could change when it comes to the standings for next week.
That's the high part. We're at the last 2 weeks of the season, and what we know for sure is that Kingzone is really good.
Yeah.
And that Kongdu Monster are not really good. Everything
I thought you were
else in
gonna
the
say
middle
something else there,
is
Papa.
potentially up for grabs. The playoffs is still an outside chance for so many teams. SKT is with no guarantee of making it, and that means that all these teams around 3rd through 7th, every game matters.
Yeah, and Jin Air, another one of the teams that now has a chance to get up there. Guys, it has been one hell of a night tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on... he'll see you tomorrow, and I'll see you next week. Good night.